Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So today we are going to cover 3 units from the syllabus, and in the morning we took the class of English literature where we discuss about D.H. Lawrence, Sonson's Lovers, and W.B. Yeats, Sailing to Byzantium. So here in this class, we are going to talk about introduction to word structure. Okay, let me share my video as well so that okay. Is it audible? The screen is visible and my video is also visible to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your confirmations. So okay, in this class we are going to talk about introduction to word structure, and in this class we will talk about what is a word, what is lexeme, and what is morphology, what is a morpheme, allomorph, and all these things. Okay, so let's begin this class. Okay, the morphology. Something is echoing. Let me check this. Okay. So have you ever gone through this chapter? Any one of you?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Okay. Have you ever heard of morphology? No. Okay, no problem. So let's begin. What is morphology? So before we understand morphology, let's talk about word. Now, what is a word? Because in my previous classes, I talked about sound. We talked about letters. We talked about syllables as well. Okay. Now, when we have come across all these 3 things, it is the time. It is the right time to talk about word. And once we will finish this, we will talk about phrase and then sentences. Okay, one after another. So this is the chronology. First of all, we have to know what is letter, then sounds, then syllables, then words, then phrases, and then ultimately the sentence. Okay. So what is a sentence actually? So what is a word? A single meaningful unit of speech or writing used with others to form a sentence and typically shown with a space on either side when written or printed. So this is the actual definition has been given in your book as well. Okay. So a word is a meaningful unit of a speech or writing. It could be in spoken form or it could be in a written form. Okay. So this is what is word. Now it is called a single meaningful unit. A word must have a meaning as well. Just to try the problem. Okay. So this is what we talked about word. Okay. Now word comes under. Is it also echoing to you? To all of you? The sound is echoing. Check. Okay. So now this word, the study of words or internal structures of words comes under this terminology that is called morphology. So morphology is the study of internal structure of words, how a word has gets its form, how a word come into existence, how the words are being how the letters, how the sounds or syllables put together to form a meaningful unit in grammar. Okay, so this study is actually happen in morphology. Thus, morphology is the scientific study of the internal structures of word or words. Okay, its only goal is to provide a theory within which word structure in all languages can be described. So it gives provide a kind of theory with which we can understand the words or word structure of all the languages throughout the world. Okay. Now in linguistic form, okay, in linguistics, this word is nothing but a lexeme. Okay. In linguistics, word is actually called a lexeme. Now, what is lexeme? It is also a unit of lexical meaning that underlies a set of words that are related through inflections, the element of which do not separately convey the meaning of the whole. Okay, as for example, fly, flies, flew, flying, flown, etc. So this is what is lexeme. Okay, now let's talk about. Now, have you understood the thing that is morphology? Morphology is nothing but the scientific study of word and its order or its form. Okay, how a word gets its existence, how a word gets its meaning. So this is what is called the study of word and its internal structure, and that is termed as morphology. The next one is that comes within morphology is morpheme, morphs, and allomorphs. Okay, now what is a morpheme? The term morpheme is used to refer to the smallest invisible, rather you can say constructive unit which words are made up. Okay, now see which part is called morpheme. All the words, it is called smallest. Why smallest? Because we cannot divide a word, sorry, a morpheme into further morphemes, and it has to have some meaning. Okay, invisible and contrastive because you cannot further divide it. Okay, and it has to have a meaning. As for example, the, top, pen, balls, unwell, etc. Says share the PPT so we can understand. Is the PPT not visible to you? Huh? Is the PPT visible to you?
It's visible, sir.
But someone is asking me to share the PPT. Where do I have to share? Okay. So a morpheme is one which will have a meaning, but a word in which there should be more than one morphemes. Okay. As for the example, see the word in example balls. Okay. In this word there is two morphemes. There are two morphemes. In the word unwell there is also two morphemes. Okay. Because when you separate a word into two part or three part, and all these parts will have certain meaning, and you cannot further separate that particular unit, that is what is called morpheme. Okay, now if we will separate these two morphemes from the word unwell, here un also has a meaning that is a negative things. We use this prefix to say something negative, say something unwilling. Okay, so here an has also a meaning and well has also a meaning. These two separate syllables of two separate words put together to make a different word. Okay, now these are the things that contribute to the vocabulary. So this is what is morpheme, the smallest meaningful unit of a language of a word is called morpheme. Now what is morphs? Morphs is nothing but the physical form. When I talk about morpheme, it was invisible, it was constructive, because that is completely related to phonology, or you can say that speech. So that's why that is invisible. When it will take its physical form, when the morpheme will take its physical form, that will be called a morph. As for example, see the here example like people. People is a morpheme. Now how many morphemes are there? There are two morphemes. People, that is also a morpheme, and it has also a plural form, that is a singular form and a plural form. So here it has two morphemes, but it has only one morph, that is the physical form, P-E-O-P-L-E. This is the physical form of the word that we pronounce, isn't that? or the sound that comes out of all these letters together is morpheme, and in the real or realization of the physical form of that morpheme is called morph. As for example, as I have already mentioned, that people, when you will say it, it will become a morpheme, but in physical form or its realization in reality, it will become a morph. As for another example, went will also be a morph because it is the physical form of the morpheme went, where it has two forms as well. One is the present one, the morph, and the another one is the past form. Similarly, there is another thing that is what is called the allomorph. And what is it? When a morpheme will have different pronunciations, that is what is called allomorph. As for example, see the examples over here. I have mentioned three words. One is stopped, another one is enjoyed, and the third one is wanted. Okay. Now, if you will see the phonetic transcription, the morpheme, okay, ed over here, because stop is the root word, stop is the meaningful unit, and then we have sometimes we have we use this in a past form. Okay, to make it past form, we used ed in all these words successively. Now this ed has separate pronunciation, or this ed has different way of pronunciation. In the first word, it simply means ta at the end, like stopped, not da. Okay, it will be pronounced as stopped, not stopped. Okay, in the next word, it will be pronounced as enjoyed. Here it will be da, not ta. But in the next word, it will be id. Okay, it will be id, like wanted. Instead of said wanted, it's not wanted, rather it is wanted. It is wanted. So one morpheme has several pronunciations based on its place and its situation. This is what is called allomorph. Okay, you got it? Now the next thing is the types of morphology or morphemes. So we have understood that morpheme is the smallest meaningful and contrastive unit of grammar. And now morpheme has different types. Now broadly, if we talk about morpheme, it has two types. One is free morphemes and another one is bound morpheme. This free morpheme is also called the root, the base, or the stem. Okay. Now what is free morpheme? Let's talk about this one. A morpheme that has individual meaning and can be formed independently is called a free morpheme. Now the definition is very easy, isn't that? When a morpheme can stand alone and it could have its own meaning without dependence on the bound morphemes. Or you can say that it is self-dependent. It doesn't depend on anything else to get its meaning. Okay. This kind of morphemes are called what? This type of morphemes are called free morphemes because they do not depend on anyone. Now these examples are free, get, human, sung, love, happy, sad, etc. Do they ever depend on anything else? No. They stand alone, they have their own meaning, and they do not depend on anything else. Now, if they would have to depend on anything else, as for example, to get a proper meaning, like as for example, take the example free. Okay. Now, free is a free morpheme. But if it would have to make another sense, another meaning, it would have to depend on some bound morpheme. As for example, freely. Okay, freely. When you will make it adjective or to modify a noun or an adjective, you have to make it freely. Now here, if you will say freely, it depends on another morpheme, that is ly. Now when it will depend on something else, that will become a bound morpheme because bound morphemes cannot stand alone. Okay, we will talk about that. First of all, let's understand what is free morpheme. Free morpheme is a morpheme that stands alone and it doesn't have the requirement to depend on anyone else to get its meaning. Is it clear to you? It's very simple. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, see, we talked about
Yes,
morpheme. Yes, thank you. Thank you for your response. So we talked about morpheme and its types. It broadly it has two types. One is free morpheme, and another one is bound morpheme. Now we have talked about free morpheme. What is free morpheme? But within free morpheme, there is two other subdivisions. Okay. Now what are they? Number one is lexical morpheme, and another one is functional morpheme. So both these are free morphemes. So what is lexical morpheme? Let's talk about that. Now lexical morpheme. Now we have talked about lexemes. Obviously, lexemes are nothing but the dictionary words. Okay, dictionary words that we have, they are called lexemes in linguistics. So now lexical morpheme is, the lexical morphemes are those morphemes that are large in number and independently meaningful. The lexical morphemes include nouns, verbs, and adjectives. Okay. So what is lexical morpheme? Lexical morphemes are those morphemes that are large in number. Because in most of the languages, if you will find anything important in a dictionary, you will find the root words like the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives. The most important thing in sentence making is only these things, isn't it? Verbs should be there. There should be objects and subjects. So in objects and subjects, we simply use nouns, and sometimes to modify the verb, modify the subject, we use adjectives. So these are some of the root words. These are some of the lexical forms of words that are called free morphemes and free lexical morphemes. Okay. As for example, see the word like dog is a noun, good is an adjective, honest is also again a noun, boy, girl, woman, excellent. So these are some of the lexical morpheme. Okay. The next one is functional morpheme. So in English grammar or in any other grammar, we have two things. Okay. We have two things. One is the root words or the main words, or that is the lexical morpheme, and another one is functional morpheme, that is the functional words that we use while making sentences, while speaking as well. So the grammatical or functional morphemes are those morphemes that consist of functional words in a language, such as prepositions, conjunction, determiners, and pronouns. So these are the functional words. There are 8 parts of speech, out of which some of them are functional and some of them are root or lexical. Okay. Now the lexical words are always dependent on the functional words while making a sentence. You cannot make a sentence without the use of the functional words. As for example, am, is, or, was, where, isn't that? And, but, or, above, preposition, conjunctions, all these things. Okay. So these are the words. They also have their meaning independently. They do not have to depend on anything else like the bound morphemes. So these are functional morphemes that helps the lexical morphemes to form a sentence in a complete way. Is it clear?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's move to the bound morpheme. Okay. Now what is bound morpheme? As I already mentioned while talking about the free morpheme, that bound morphemes always depend on someone. Suppose not someone, rather the free morpheme. So a morpheme that doesn't have any independent meaning and can be formed with the help of free morphemes is called a bound morpheme. Okay. Now these are some of the inflections. We must have ever heard or have read about affixes, prefixes, and suffixes. These are the bound morphemes because they cannot stand alone. As for example, if I will say the word that happiness, now happy is the root word, that is the free morpheme that can stand alone without having any kind of inflections. But if you will separate happy from ness, will this last 4 letters will have any meaning alone? No, it will not have any meaning at all until and unless we will attach it with a free morpheme. As for example, see here, less, ness, pre, an, see, meant, all these things, all these letters together are called bound morphemes because they cannot have their own meaning alone. They have to have some dependence on the free morphemes. The bound morphemes can also be further divided into two categories. One is inflectional and another one is derivational. Okay, one is inflectional and another one is derivational. Now, what is inflection? I have already talked about that when we were talking about the Old English language, Middle English language, and modern English language. I was talking about the Anglo-Saxon period or the Old English period. In that time, the language was very difficult to speak, write, and read. And if someone from this present day would like to make a research on the language of that Old English period, he will face so many difficulties to understand that because that language was full of inflections and number cases. There are so many cases, grammatical affluency was there. So what is inflection? Inflection means when you will have some extra letters within a word and all these letters will be pronounced. You cannot escape that. We didn't have some kind of options like we have words like work, W-A-L-K, work. Here L is silent, but in inflectional languages there will be no silent letters. So inflections in present it means the plurals, the you can say that the gerund, all these things are called apostrophes are called the inflections. So in English language, there are 8 inflections. What are they? Sorry, let's talk about that. Okay, there is a mistake. Mistake in the sense, in place of derivational morpheme, the answer or the note has been placed of inflections, and in place of inflectional morpheme, it is about derivational morpheme. So let's interchange this one. So we were talking about inflectional morpheme. So inflectional morpheme, these morphemes, these are used to indicate aspects of the grammatical function of a word. They carry grammatical information and do not change the meaning of words in which they occur. Neither do they change their parts of speech. If they are verbs, for instance, they remain as verbs, unlike the derivational morphemes. Now see, there are 8 inflections. One is S, ES, ED, ER, EST, ING, and apostrophe S. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One is missing. Okay, so what was the last one? Okay, I'll talk about that later. So there are 8 inflections. As for example, see the word inflection, that is first one is. An example, S means when you will make certain noun as plural. For example, boys, boyses, girls, girlses, or girls, isn't that? And sometimes we also use es. Okay, so sometimes when it is singular form or it is in first person and second person, we do not use es, but if it is third person singular, we have to add es with it, like go, goes, go, goes. There are some other words like that. So and the another one is ed. To make past tense or to make past form of a verb, we simply use ed, as I have earlier mentioned the words like enjoyed, stopped, wanted, all these words. Sometimes to make or to see the degrees of one form to another form, we use er, that is good, better, and best. The next one is est, that is we use in good degrees. Okay, changing of degrees. The next one is forming ing or continuous tenses, the continuous verbs, that is ing, like coming, going, eating, all these things. And apostrophe is to show that the thing actually belongs to that person or this person. When we say that this is Rima's pen, okay, so we will use apostrophe after Rima. Okay, so this is what is called inflections. Okay, and then we have derivational inflections, that is here in this page. Now, what is derivational inflection? A derivational morpheme, as the name suggests, derive create or form another. Just a minute. Yes. Derived, create or form another word from the word to which it is added. Okay. Now, when we will add certain derivation to a particular word, it will actually change the form of that particular word. If it is noun, it may become a verb. It may also become an adjective or adverb. Okay. Whereas when we were talking about inflections, don't get confused about the heading here. Okay. It is not inflectional morphe, it is derivational morphe, because the definition is about derivation. There is a mistake of writing. Okay. I made this mistake, but I didn't correct it. I didn't actually got to know this. However, so when you will add these derivations to particular root words or free morphemes, they will change its form. It may be from noun to adjective, adjective to verb. See these examples over here. Like good is an adjective, but when you will add ness, the derivation ness, N-E-S-S, it will become a noun, goodness. Care is a noun and a verb as well, but careful and careless is adjective. Bad is an adjective, but badly is an adverb. So see, this is how the derivations actually change the form of any particular word. So is this clear to you about morphology? We talked about morphology, we talked about morphemes, morphs, allomorphs, and we also talked about lexemes and words. We also talked about the types of morphemes. Broadly, it is divided into two categories. One is free morpheme and bound morpheme. Free morphemes are further divided into two categories. One is lexical and another one is functional. And the bound morphemes has also further divided, that is inflectional and derivational. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My internet connection is getting so it's okay. So let's move on to the next unit, that is word building process. I didn't write it because I had some written notes, so I have pasted it here. Okay. So in this unit, we will talk about how actually we, you can say that, form new words. Or we have already talked about the vocabulary of English language. If you will say, if you will look into the past units, you will get to know that okay, English has more number of words than any other language in the world, even though it is not so much older language, because French, Greece, Italian, these languages are much older than English language. Yet English has so many words, almost 10 million words, sorry, 1 million words. How this language has actually expanded its repertoire of words into such a big way. So we have talked about that morphology. Now morphology has also a contribution to building words. Okay, because when you will use your inflections, your derivations, and your functional or lexical forms, they will also give you separate words. Sometimes a word forms use as a noun, but it may also use as a verb, as an adjective as well. So these, okay, when you will have one word and it can function as three words. So this is how the words number and the process of making new sentences using one single word in different ways has actually increased in English language. Now there is another process what is called word formation. Okay. Now in word formation, what happen is that we form words, new words. Okay, maybe from the existing words. Sometimes we coin some words. Actually, we also talked about the Scandinavian influence, Latin influence, Greek influence, when we were talking about how the English language has become enriched with the influence of all the invaders, those who invaded the land, ruled that particular land, and left their mark and their language, their culture, all these things. So we talked about that. Now, word formation is one of the important thing that has increased in many ways the number of words or vocabulary in English language. Now, what is word formation? Can you read it? Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you read it? What is word formation? Any one of you? Can you read it?
In linguistics, word formation is the process of creating new words. It is
Okay.
sometimes contrasted with semantic change, which is a change in a single word's meaning.
Okay. So word formation is a kind of process.
Should I continue, sir?
No, you stop. I will now continue. Okay. I just wanted you to see the meaning of what is word formation. It's a process. Okay. It's a process through which words or new words has been created. Okay. Maybe we use existing words, we make some deletion, we make some addition, we make some subtraction from a particular word to create a new word. Or sometimes what happens, we change the meaning. That is what is called the semantic change. Semantic means study of meaning. Okay, now when you will have the change of meaning using derivations, that is also what is called in a word formation. Now, there are several types of word formation. Okay, there are multiple ways of making new words or word formation, like coinage is one of them, borrowing is one of them. So we have talked about borrowing, isn't it? We have talked about borrowing because most of the words has been directly borrowed from French language, Greek language, Latin language, Scandinavian language. So borrowing is one of them. Not only from the words from the these languages, but English has taken words from almost all the languages of the world. It has taken words from all the languages because England at a time colonized almost all the parts of the world, except few. Except few, they have colonies in several parts of the world. So when they ruled that portions of a particular land, they had some kind of exchange of words, because without that you cannot communicate with the people you are dealing with. So this is the best way to exchange your words and create or take and give some kind of there is a kind of give and take policy. If you will give your words, I will give my words. So this is how we'll build a bridge between you and me, even though our languages are not similar, and even it will take some other time. So there is two other concepts. So we will if you will have time, we will talk about that. One is Pidgin, another one is creole. Okay, so these are two important concepts to make the bridges between two different languages, people from two different languages. Okay, now let me tell about that. Okay, so it will be easy for you to understand. Now, one concept is called Pidgin, another one is called creole. Now, what is creole? So let me talk first. Pidgin. Pidgin means, suppose uh, basically I am from West Bengal. Okay, but I'm staying here in Hyderabad. I'm doing my job over here. So I don't know what is the language of Telangana. That is Telugu, obviously. That is the official language of this state. So Telugu is the language, and my language is Bengali. If I won't have the power to speak in English or Hindi or any other language, so what I would have to do is that I have to exchange with a Telugu person, and he will also exchange his words with a Bengali person. And in this exchange, we would have some kind of similarity in some portions. So when this kind of bridge will be bridged for the first time, okay, there will be no communication without any language. Okay, so sometimes for the trading purpose, for communicative purpose, we try to understand others' perspective, other words, okay, to understand that. So this first process is, or the first phase is called Pidgin. Now see, this language will not have any kind of grammar, will not have any script. But when, suppose as for example, I am here, just for example, okay. So I'm here, I settled here, I'm married here, I have children, and now when these children will speak into that language will become a creole, because that will be a fixed language. They will learn that language from their parents, from their other neighbors or relatives over here, and that language become the creole. So that is the first stage when we will not have any kind of grammar, any kind of description. But second time, in the second generation, in the third generation, this language will become a existing form of a language. But this is how a language can also be created. Okay. So why I was talking about this, it was only because of the borrowing. Okay. Because these people went into several parts of the world for trading purpose, for looting and also plundering. And because of these things, they had to institute their constitution over there. They had some rules and regulations. And in order to do that, they had to communicate with other communities of other languages. And this is how they built a bridge between their language and other languages. And they took that language into their own dictionary. They used that language in their own writings, in their own communication. And this is how that language, that words has become part of that English dictionary. Okay, so there are other ways as well. Compounding is also there, blending, clipping, back formation, etc. are there. Okay, now the first one is coinage. Okay, now let's talk about coinage. What is coinage? When anyone will coin a new word, okay, the word that has not been ever used before as a word or as a noun, okay, maybe it could be a name, it was existing, but it was not using in this form as it is using right now. As for example, see here that nylon, okay, nylon is a word, okay, nylon is a word that is actually a company, okay, that is the name of the company, and now we use this to actually address the thing that this company produce. Okay, it may be some ropes made of nylon. Okay, so nylon has already become a kind of new word that actually substitute the thing for the company. Another word is that xerox. Sometimes we used to say I'm going to make some xerox, but xerox is not the thing that we do. That is a photocopy of something, but we use simply add that, okay, where are you going? I am going to make xerox. So but xerox is name of the company which first invented these xerox machines, photocopy machines. Then similarly there are other words like teflon, then kleenex, colgate. Colgate is one of the best example. Okay, even in my childhood, not even my childhood, still now there are some kind of misconception, and in our locality you will get to see that, okay, even though you want to buy another brand's toothpaste, you will go to the shop and you will say, give me a Colgate. Okay, so it has some such a kind of influence in our day-to-day life that, okay, we used to call toothpaste, instead of calling toothpaste, we simply says Colgate. Even it happened with me in my locality, but I don't know about you. Okay, you can also imagine some other thing that has happened with you. Is it right? Is it understandable?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next one is borrowing. Borrowing is also is the most common source of new words in English. It means taking over words from other languages. For example, we may mention the loan words. Loan words is actually, that means you can also use borrowed words. Loan words mean borrowed words. The loan that you also financially takes from some banks or financial institution, that is also what is called loan. Loan means to borrow something. So here loan words that has been borrowed from other languages are into English. Like alcohol is a word that has been taken from Arabic. Okay, alcohol is a Arabic word, but it has now become a part of the English. Piano is also another word that has been taken from Italian language. Okay, Latin language. Sofa has taken from Arabic. Now, what is that one? Brass or boss, I think. Boss. Okay, boss has been taken from Dutch. Yogurt. Yogurt has been taken from Turkish language. Okay, yogurt means dahi. And lathi is an Indian word. Okay, so nowadays lathi is an English word. It has been taken. Another famous example you can say, like in being staying in Hyderabad, you can say that biryani is a word that has been now part of English language. Okay. Then the third way of creating or inventing new words is compounding. Compounding is a process when two proper words, two common nouns or proper nouns are put together to make a single another word. That is what is called compounding. As for example, see here, two different root or lexical morphemes are put together to make another word, like male plus man. Okay, these are two separate individual words having their own meanings independently. But when you will put together, it will become something else. Mailman, okay, fireplace, ale house. All these words are called compounding. Okay, putting together. Now, there is another one is that is blending. Now, what is blending? Blending is a process. Just okay. So blending is another process of word formation, where a word is formed by joining parts of two words after clipping. So there will be two words, but we will not put that together as they are, like in compounding. Rather, what we will do, we will clip some of the parts of that words and we will put that together. As for example, we have breakfast and we have lunch. So when we will make brunch, okay, from breakfast and lunch, okay, from lunch, it will become brunch. Brunch means the middle part or middle time when we take some snacks or tiffins or some foods in between breakfast and lunch. That is what is called brunch. So this is what is called blending. Okay, breakfast and lunch, it will become brunch, and from smoke and fog, it will become smoke. Is it clear? So a question may also come that okay, you can write about the word formation. So you will have to talk about all these things. The another one is clipping. Now, what is clipping? That's what I was talking about. That there could have some big words, and from that words we have omitted or deleted some portion of that word, and now the present word that we have is the shortened form or abbreviated form of that particular word. As for example, see here, gasoline is one of that word. Earlier, or the actual form of that word gas is actually gasoline. So from gasoline, O-L-I-N-E has been dropped out, clipped out, and now gas is here, but both these words mean the same thing. Okay, just a minute, let me have a little water. Okay, so we were talking about clipping, and you get to see here the words like gasoline, hamburger, okay, facsimile, internet. So instead of using all these words, complete words, we are now using the most recent or colloquial words, as for example gas, burger. Instead of saying hamburger, we simply say burger. Instead of say facsimile, we use fax. Okay, so these are some of the words we use from clipping. So if you will clip up one part of that word and use uh, some of the part of that word and having the same meaning of that word without changing the meaning, that is what is called uh, clipping. The next way of back formation, work formation, is back formation. Now, what is back formation? A variety is specialized. Okay, a specialized type of reduction is known as back formation. When you will reduce some of the portion of that word, and it will typically a word one type is reduced from another word of different type. That is what is called back formation. Now, see, you have a word, complete word, that is a form of another one, that is maybe a parts of a speech. In parts of a speech, maybe it is a verb and adjective, but when you use it in another sense, like in another form, let's see the example, it will be very clear. Okay, now earlier television first came. Okay, the word television first came, and then we use the word televise. That is, from the noun we have used it as verb. So from television to televise. Then other words like donate to donation. Okay, donate from donation, opt from option, emote from emotion. So these words, donation, option, emotion, these words came first, and then for our need, for our uh, uh, for the situation of a purpose, we use these words. Okay, based on our situation. So sometimes what we used to do just for fun. Okay, when you are with your friends or colleagues, and you have your own mother tongue, that could be Telugu, Urdu, or sometimes you are speaking, and in that group maybe some other peoples are who cannot understand Urdu or Telugu. So in order to make them understand, what you have to do, you have to speak in English, and they will also try to speak in their broken language. So what they will use to do that, okay, they will use their mother tongue words in a very English form. As for example, you can say that, okay, uh, I am going. Instead of going, you can or eating, you can say that I'm khana khaing. Okay, so sometimes for make fun, we used to do that. Okay, so that's how when we use a particular word into another form based on a requirements, that's become another way, that is back formation, that will also give new words in that particular language. Another one is conversion. In conversion, what happens, uh, that is also a kind of you can say that a kind of back formation. Conversion is also a kind of back formation, but here we do not omit some portion to make another word. Here what happens is the actual word will be there, and we will use it in another form. As for example, water and butter, these two words are noun, but when we will use them in another sentences to make some other words, we can make them as verbs. So this noun will become verbs. So as for example, I am buttering my toast. So butter was a noun, but now it has become a verb. So he is preparing the uh, bedroom walls, peppering the bedroom walls. Okay, have you buttered the toast? So such kind of words, when they will be as same as it is, and they will be used in another form, that will be called conversion. The another interesting one is acronym. Can any one of you tell me what is acronym and what is abbreviation? Can any one of you tell me what is abbreviation and what is acronym? What is the difference between these two? See, from this unit, from 12, from 13 to 20 units, all these portions are talking about grammar. Now we will, you know, take part into grammar. So they will talk about phrase, they will talk about sentence, tense, joining, clauses. These are some grammatical portions. So you can read them as you are enough, in your masters. So I hope that you can manage that to read yourself. Okay, if you will have any problem, you can ask me. So in the upcoming week, what you have to do, you have to go through all these units. I will cover that, no matter. But it's not easy to, teach someone any grammatical portion without using, pen and papers or like boards. It may be digital boards or whiteboards. So that will be difficult because as we are taking the class, it looks like we are taking theoretical class, but the complete portion, the complete subject is not practical. It's very practical. It's not theoretical, but we are taking it as it is a theory paper. Okay. So any one of you can tell me what is acronym and what is abbreviation. Have you ever heard of abbreviation? Obviously, you must have heard of abbreviation. No, you don't want to respond? Okay.
Abbreviation is the first letter of the word. First letter we consider.
Okay.
And acronym is the first letter of the phrase we consider. Am I right?
But abbreviation is also the first letters of a phrase, of a word, of a sentence. The difference is between them is like when you will take the initial letters from a phrase or a sentence or a word, and it will have a meaning in reality, that will become acronym. As for example, WHO, who is a linking word which also have a meaning in grammatical functions in English language, but it has been taken from another phrase or sentence, that is World Health Organization. So that is the name of a company, that is the name of the organization. If you will take the initial letters from this organization, it will form WHO, and this is an English word. So when it will have a meaning, it will call acronym, and when it will not have a meaning, it will become what? It will become abbreviation.
Abbreviation.
As for example, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University. Okay, now the abbreviation is BRAW. It doesn't have any meaning. That's why it is an abbreviation. If it would have a meaning after the abbreviation, it will become acronym. Okay. Now we also have talked about derivation. So derivation is nothing but the inflections at the end, like less, ness, and all the affixes and prefixes, suffixes and prefixes are called derivations. These are also the useful things to make different words from different forms. Okay. Yes. So here are some examples like happy plus ness is called happiness, care for less, careless, beauty, then full, beautiful, common, ly, commonly. So these are some of the uh, derivations. Okay, so these are nothing but affixes, prefixes, suffixes. All these things are part of the form of word formation. So they help to make different words. Is it clear to you? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
We talked about morphology. We also talked about the word formation. In word formation, we talked about coinage. We talked about borrowing. We talked about compounding, clipping, then back formation, conversion, acronym, all these things. So if you will be asked in your exam that, okay, write a brief note about the word formation process, you have to write about these things. And this is a very important question as well. Or you may be asked that, okay, write a brief note about what is back formation and clipping and you can say compounding. They will mention it, one, two, or three of them, or sometimes they will ask you in general. Okay. So now most of the chapters or most of the units in this book is about how the English language has enriched so much, and what are the causes, what are the sources of that thing to have an affluency of English words and English vocabulary. So here, in the 13th chapter, word power in English, how actually it received its power. We already have talked about how the English language has become the richest language in the world in terms of vocabulary. Okay, so we have already talked about that in many ways in many of the units. Now we'll talk about some other perspectives from where actually English has enriched its vocabulary. Number one is the contribution of creative writers. That is the contribution of the creative writers. Now, what did I ever ask you the question that what is literature? Okay, video has been stopped. Did I ever ask you what is literature? Literature, actually, when you will go through your criticism class, maybe you have gone through this thing. Okay, like literature is nothing but creation through imagination, through fictionality. So literature is nothing but creation. It is also a creation. Even not only the writers who are producing their beautiful works like novels, dramas, poems, they are not only the creators. Even the readers who are reading and excavating some new meanings from that text, they are also the part in the process of creation. Okay, so that's why here the contribution of the creative writers are also very important. Sometimes to make a work interesting, the authors, the writers, the poets make some kind of experiments with some new words. They sometimes form new words, new phrases, and give such kind of meaning. And in order to do that, what happens is that in that particular work, the work that has been written by a particular writer, he used that particular phrase or word that he has been coined for the first time. He used it more than twice or thrice or fourth time, okay, in that particular work, so that it catch the attention of the readers, and they may take it as a serious word or use it in a new way, okay, as the author has been used. So that is what is called the creative writer's contribution. So here, the first thing that comes to our mind is that talking about English language, the first works, that is Beowulf is one of the greatest epic of the Anglo-Saxon period, but that was written in the language of the Old English period. So that is not so much that haven't influenced so much, because that was written in the Germanic language, the Anglo-Saxon form. So here the first thing that comes to the contribution is the translation of Bible, because the Bible was first written in Hebrew, and then it was translated into Greek language. And when it was first translated into English, it was by John Wycliffe in, I think, 1382. John Wycliffe first translated the, Old Testament, and it was his translation with his own followers, who were called once upon a time Lollards. Those who followed the ideals of John Wycliffe and his Bible, they were called Lollards. So he translated it from English and Bible, Hebrew and Greek, and then it was translated in 1611 by King James and his team in 1611, and it was called the Authorized Version as well, Authorized Version of King James. So both these Bibles have contributed a lot of words. Okay, a lot of words. I have just mentioned a few words only. Okay, just a few words. Like the word like peacemaker is one of the words. One of them. Long suffering is another word. Loving kindness. These are some of the words that has been taken from a Bible. There are n number of words. Okay, thousand of words. I haven't mentioned them. You just have to know that. Okay, Bible had a great contribution in the expansion of the English vocabulary. The next one that is we are still in the title, that is creative writers contribution. Then we may talk about Shakespeare. We had earlier also told that okay, Shakespeare had knowingly or unknowingly is credited for contributing 20,000 words in English language. Okay, 20,000 words. But 20,000 out of 20,000 words, 2,000 words are completely his own creation. Other words are sometimes used in the past. They were not in use, but he has made them popular. He pioneered that words, okay? But he has contributed almost 2,000 words. These are all approximations, okay? Because no one can calculate exactly. And we are here with an approximation that, okay, he has contributed almost 2,000 new words in English language. As for example, like the words like household, auspicious, birthplace, eyeball, farmhouse, tranquil, hostile, and many more. Okay. Other literary figures are there. Okay, not only Shakespeare has contributed into the English language, there are so many other great writers. Shakespeare is one of them, but there are some other writers like Christopher Marlowe is there, Ben Jonson is there, Francis Bacon, Thomas More, John Milton, Jonathan Swift, and many others have greatly contributed. Okay. Now, the writers whom I have mentioned here, can you tell me one or two words about them? Francis Bacon, John Milton, Thomas More, Jonathan Swift. One or two words only. Tell me one or two words about all of them. Any one of you. All of you can say only one or two words, if whatever you know about them. Yes, someone is asking what Suchitra Adhanom. Okay. She is asking me regarding idioms. Okay. So I will come to that point. Okay. We have also talked about that in this unit. What is the number of unit? This is what unit number 13. Unit number 13, block 3. In this unit, you will find the portion that is called idiom. Okay. See here. Yes, this is idiom. You got it? In this unit, you will find idiom. So we'll talk about that as well. But I'm asking you to tell me something about all these writers. Who was Francis Bacon? Do you know anything? Okay. Let me tell that Francis Bacon was a great essayist of the 16th or 15th century. His essays are called, very aphoristic because his essays are very short, but within these short essays, he actually conveys so many things. Okay. John Milton is one of them. He wrote Paradise Lost, and that work has also been contributed so many words in English language. And most of the words, though most of the words has been taken from Bible itself, because the Paradise Lost is dealing with Adam, Eve, and Satan. Thomas More is one of them because the word that we are nowadays using, utopia, this word has actually been come into currency with Thomas More because he wrote a book called Utopia, and from that book, this word has come to existence. Jonathan Swift has wrote Gulliver's Travel. Okay, you might have watched the movie the animated movie as well. And in that particular book, he especially, most famously, he used two words. One is Lilliput, that means something that is small, something that is tiny, and another one is Yahoo. So we have yahoo.com. Okay, so that Yahoo has actually been originated from Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. There are so many other words. You just go through that in your book, or you can also search it in Wikipedia. You will get to know. Why don't you sew instead of writing? Okay, sir. No, sir. What? I didn't get you. Why don't you ask? Don't write. No, speak up here. I'm here to listen. Okay. The next one is that words from proper noun. Sometimes we create some new words from proper nouns. As for example, see here, I have mentioned two words. One is sandwich, another one is guy. Sandwich is a form of food that we used to have, breads and sauce and other things. So this sandwich, this word actually has been came from the name of a place, Earl of Sandwich. Okay, Sandwich was the name of a place. That was a proper noun where the Earl of that particular place used to play cards and have some kind of salads and breads with him. And that food was known as sandwich. So from that, we have right now sandwich. Guy is another word that we, in present as a form of modernization or modernity, people used to say guy. But this guy actually is a negative word because this word has been taken from Guy Fawkes, one who was punished for hatching a gunpowder plot against the British Parliament. Okay, that was happened in 1605. Okay, so we also have words that has been taken into English from uh, proper nouns. Then we have words from abbreviations. Abbreviations, we can also make words from abbreviations. We can also create words from abbreviations. Uh, as for example, see the example I have mentioned here is mob. That mob has been actually taken from a French word that is mobile vulgus, and the word cab has taken from cabriolet, taxi from taximeter, cabriolet. So this is how we also form words from abbreviations. Another one is words created. Okay, words created by error, sometimes mishearing and mispronunciation. Mishearing and mispronunciation can also create new words. There is a famous term in English language, English literature, that is malapropism. Malapropism is the word used by uh, R.B. Sheridan in his play. I don't actually rightly remember the name of the play. The Rivals. Okay, the name of the play is Rivals. So in that play, there was a character, Mrs. Malaprop. She used to mispronounce the words, and this is how so many mispronunciation has happened, and that particular thing has now come into existence and become a literary term. And that is what is also another form of creating new words. Okay, as for example, see, earlier it was orange. Sorry, the present word orange was earlier, actually the actual word was orange. It was not orange, but due to mishearing it became orange, and now we only use orange, not orange. Because if you will see the etymology of a particular word, that is the source and origin of a word, you will get to know that okay, there is a similarity between this English orange, narangi, and nimbu. Okay, orange, narangi, and nimbu. So it has that root, but as for mispronunciation and misunderstanding, it has become orange, and now we use it as orange. A nickname. Okay, now we have used it as nickname, but it was earlier an nickname. Okay, an nickname. Then the word that we have, sweetheart, like sweetheart. Okay, at present it was not sweetheart, but it was sweetheart. Okay, So these are some of the errors through which we used to uh, taken from create some new words. Okay, then we have doublets. Now, what is doublets? Doublets means okay that when the English people actually went to a particular colony, they ruled them and borrow some words from them. They not only borrowed a word, not only borrowed from one particular language, but they borrowed from other languages as well. And this is how, as for example, see here, blasphemy. One is blame, another one is blasphemy, but both mean the same thing. One has been taken from French, another one is taken from Greek. So both that whether both these words put together and they become blame, blasphemy. Then we have canal, channel, cave, cage, sure, secure. So these are the cases of you can say what is it, that doublets. Then we have synonyms. I don't want to read it. Please, any one of you read it. Okay, what is synonyms? It is very simple. Who will read it? Let me tell his or her name. Only girls are there. Isn't there any boy in your class? How many students are there? Does anyone of you know? Most of them are girls. Okay, except me. So you don't want to read. Okay, let me read once again. Synonyms is nothing but the similarity of meaning. Okay. When we will have, as for example, see the question that I have put over here. What kind of person are you? If you will ask someone that what kind of person are you, either you will get some positive answers or you will get some negative answers, or maybe extra positive answers, or maybe extra positive words related to that person. So the words here, see the words like quiet, reserved, reticent, introvert, withdrawn. These first set of words talking about some positive, some moralistic behavior of that person. Now all these words in this set have quite similar meanings. Okay. Quiet means reserved, reserved means reticent, reticent means introvert, introvert means withdrawn. Okay. But though they are quite similar, they are not identical in meaning. They are not meaning the exact same as the earlier word is meaning. But yet they mean the same thing to some extent. Okay. As for example, in other sense, you can say noisy. That person could be noisy, garrulous, talkative, loquacious, outgoing, and extrovert. Okay. So this set is also showing a kind of similarity of meaning, though they are not identical. So this is what is called synonyms. Now to make this kind of synonyms, suppose you are delivering a speech in front of a public who are not actually from your locality. So what you will use to do is that, as for example, so what you will do, you will try to speak as much elaborately as you can. So if you will feel that, okay, the word that I have used rightly is quite difficult, maybe it might be difficult for the public who are listening me. So instead of using only one word, what you will do, you will use some other words together with that word so that they can understand at least one of them. Okay. So this is what is the purpose of synonyms, and that also influence the English language a lot. Okay. Instead of saying loquacious, that is a very technical word, loquacious, because it has come from location. Location means speech. Location means speech. Loquacious means someone who used to speak too much. That means talkative. isn't that? So in order to make someone understand about something, we use this kind of words. Next one is denotation and connotation. Now this is also another form of you know, creating new words, new meaning, new sense in a particular language. So denotation is, what is denotation? Denotation means the surface meaning is the original or primary or referential meaning of a word. But connotation is associated with the meaning within a particular culture, particular society, someone's feeling, emotions, overtones, all these things. As for example, see, the word red has only one meaning, that is it's a particular color, but it is the denotation, that is the referential meaning. Red means something red, a color. But when you are going to think deeply, you will find that that can also mean blood and dagger. That can also mean murder and death and bloodshed. So that is what is called connotation. Connotation shows or talks about some deeper meaning, okay, that hides inside that particular word. If you will think on that, or meditate on that, you will get to know about that. Okay. Next one is polysemy and collocation. Now, what is polysemy? When polysemy means the property of a word having more than one meaning. So when one word will have more than one meaning, that will become a polysemous word. Okay. So a word can also function or mean in two simple other places, or we can say that in more than two places, and that meaning will be different from each other. As for example, see here the example of bank. So bank is a word, and the meaning of this word is ambiguous. Why? Because one bank can mean the river bank, another bank can mean a financial bank where we keep our money. Sometimes it can also mean the river bank where we used to go in some vacations. Okay. Another one is collocation. Now, what is collocation? It simply means the placing together of two or more words in a way acceptable to the speaker of a language. So when you put together two words to make someone understandable, as I was talking about synonymy, it is also actually collocated with the same purpose. As for example, see, whenever we talk about deliver, the word deliver, it actually collocates nothing that, okay, he delivered a good lesson. We do not say like this. Rather, what we used to say is that the word deliver collocates with speech, lecture, or you can say like a sermon. So we deliver a lecture, sermon, or speech, but we don't say that he delivered a good lesson. Okay, so here the word deliver collocates with lecture, speech, or sermon only, not with anything else. So this is what is called collocation, when two or three words will be put together to make someone acceptable, or make someone understand that particular thing that I used to say. That is what is called collocation. Maybe this is the last one. We'll talk about chapter 14 later. We have ran across time something. So that is idiom. Now idiom is another thing. Now what is an idiom? Idiom is a form, okay, that is a group of words whose meaning is different from the meaning of the individual words. When we put together two or three words, and each of the individual words will have their individual meaning, but when we will put together to make a phrase, that will have some deeper meaning within it. As for example, see here, first example is pull someone's leg. If you are pulling someone's leg, that doesn't mean literally that you are pulling someone's leg, that person's leg. It simply means that you have played a joke on him, okay, on him or upon him. The next one is kick the bucket. Okay, kick the bucket means it doesn't mean that, okay, you are kicking a bucket. It means that someone has died. Okay, that person has died. Got it? So this was all about these 3 units we have talked about. If you have any question or query, you can ask me. Otherwise, we will move to the other units as well.
So the pronunciation of bucket is bucket or bucket?
It's bucket.
Okay.
See, it depends on how you are. We will talk about that as well because there is a chapter, unit, where we will have to talk about the British accent and the American accent. Being Indian, we people actually follow the British English, not the American one. But the American accent is more easier than the British one. That's why we easily understand the American accent rather than the British one. So we make a kind of amalgamation. If you are not a linguist, if you are not a very high profile person in linguistics, you will not actually differentiate between the British and American accent. We simply make an amalgamation of that and use it in our daily life. Sometimes people say often, sometimes people say often. So there is no any kind of misunderstanding. One is British pronunciation, another one is uh, English pronunciation, that is American pronunciation. So there are some other units that we have named here. We have to talk about phrases, the verb, grammatical function, clause, sentence meaning, etc. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 units are there. Okay, so even if I want to make the PPT tomorrow, we will talk about phrase, verb, then clause and sentence. These are not so difficult, but these are very practical. So I want you to read these. Otherwise, we will try to talk about what is discourse and varieties of English. Okay, so in varieties of English, you will have so many varieties, Indian varieties, standard languages. Okay, so there are 7 units, and we have 2 days left only. That is tomorrow and the next Saturday. That would be, I think, in 21st of this month. So you please read this block 4. This is completely a grammatical course. I want you to read so that I will simply just explain. Okay. Is there any other queries? 21st May last class. Yes, 21st is the last class. That is maybe
So
in the
it is said
next.
the total paper is out of 70 and 30 marks is the internal marks. So internal assessment, I'm not aware actually. Was it given and how to submit and how to collect the internal questions, assignments, I mean to say.
I got to know that okay, internal assignment has already been given.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware. I'm not getting any notifications.
So
If
you
it is,
have to.
can you share once again? Yeah, how to go ahead with that?
If you have to contact with HOD, that will be better.
So do we have to collect it and write it in a paper or a book, something like that, and submit? Or what is the process?
I do not actually know the process because the internal exams are completely upon the HOD. So you contact with Madhuri ma'am, she will let you know what you have to do. Okay.
Fine. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. You may
Is there any
collect.
last date for that, sir?
I also do not have any information regarding that because they haven't shared with me, and what I have to do only that is that information is with me. So I can't say because the classes that I'm taking is not from the university because they have stopped that kind of facilities. So I'm taking it from my own room, and I didn't visit the university since last 1 month. So I do not have any kind of update regarding it. But I got to know from HOD that okay, she has already given the assignments and you people are submitting as well. So if you have to satisfy your queries, you please contact with HOD. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. So thank you for today's class. Thank you for your cooperation. We will meet tomorrow in the same time. Okay. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.